Hey y'all, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I got a brainstorm. I haven't found since we moved, I haven't found my actual good 4K camera yet. But I figured I'm going to do something different instead of just going live and it being all scriggledy biggledy. Because, we're out here in the country and we got this basically a mobile phone company hotspot type of deal that gives us our internet access. I figured I'd just record it right here on my telefono, my mobile phone, you know what I mean? Hey, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in America, or if you're looking, America. What's going on in America right now? Let's talk about politicians. Politicians. I kind of stay anti-political on this channel for a reason. I have said a few things, I talked about how at the beginning of November when the election took place that it was a landslide, and I kind of said some stuff, and I talked to people about not gloating. But now I want us to think about and look at, by the way, that's my music playing in the background. You can find it everywhere DJ Marty D is streamed. That's the first song off of my first LP, the Shadowcaster LP. That song's called Encouragement. There's a remake or an alternate version of that song with my vocals live on it, coming out February 13th. So be looking for that one. Politicians are griping right now because a president promised to do something before he got elected, and they thought he was kidding. They thought he was messing around. They thought he was playing. See, the way things usually happen in Washington, D.C., at least in my lifetime, and many of y'all can probably attest to this, they say they're going to do stuff, and then they get elected, and then the stuff sits around for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Sometimes they have to go into their second term, and sometimes they don't get reelected. And a lot of times those campaign promises are just never fully realized. Well, he promised he was going to do something to track the efficiency at which government goes forward. And you can agree or disagree, okay? But this is what I want to make very clear. Politicians oftentimes promise things and it never happens. People elected another guy who a lot of people hate. Okay, we get that. We get it. You don't have to come on here and say that in the comments. But if you want to, go ahead. Attack me, whatever. I know it's not about me. I know it's a spiritual thing ultimately. But, okay, so he comes in and he does exactly what he promised. He gets an outsider who's a business mind, which is really what he is, except for the fact that he served as president before. And he goes and he gets this outsider and he gets a bunch of people on his team, and they go in and they audit things. They look at things. They look at data. They look at all the input that they can find, right? And what they're finding is, and you may have seen my short about this, what they're finding is basically there was a bank robbery going on, and he's telling us who the bank robber was. Now, society pretty much is like, yeah, get the criminal. I think for the most part, the American people want to know that if their tax dollars are going towards something, that it goes towards that thing. There are a lot of people who gave to foreign aid causes only to now realize 4 years later that this is the way politicians and actual political online media outlets, namely Politico directly, are getting paid. This is not going to actual foreign aid. There are things that were collected to like build housing and restore infrastructure for people in other nations, and pretty much it didn't really happen. And so the messenger collecting all the data, the messenger is this outside businessman. You all know him. Some of you hate him even more now than you used to, but he used to be really cool, especially among the left. His name's Elon Musk. He is born in South Africa. He's an African. He's one of the white Africans of Dutch descent. But Elon Musk is an outside businessman collecting data. He's got all his people that he handpicked, and they are going through and finding out things that a lot of elected officials don't want people to know. That's exactly what all the hubbub is about. That's why everybody's, we got to get him out of there. We didn't elect Elon. No, you didn't elect Elon Musk. But the government is being run right now by the executive. That's what a president is, who said, I'm going to do these things. And so he's doing these things, and it's not waiting for a year. It's not waiting for 2 years. It's not waiting for 3 years. It's not finally coming around in the 4th year as a lame duck president. he's jumping on it and getting it done. So what you've got is the people that are up in arms about the bank robbery that's been going on and pointing out where that money that's missing went and finding out that a lot of people have been padding their pocketbooks. Politicians, by and large, already have a reputation. We already know most politicians are not esteemed very highly, right? I want I want to talk a little bit more about that in one aspect. Um, there are things in the Word of God that tell us how to act about those that are in authority over us, and there's a lot of different ideas and interpretations on what's right, what's wrong. But we are living in a day where they are calling good evil. But before that, they were calling evil good. So calling evil good is heresy. That's against the Word of God. Calling good evil is heresy. But then attacking people that are doing good and calling that bad, that's actually also persecution. But I want to read Romans chapter 13. It says this in verse 1. This is about respecting authority. It says, everyone must submit to government or governing authorities. For all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. So if you had any doubt as to whether or not what's going on in the United States has been allowed by a higher power, yes, God allowed it to happen. It's not just Christians who believe that, but it is here in biblical text. Verse 2, it says, so anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished. People are living in the era of, and other people are using a different word for it. But if you are fooling around, you are now finding out. Fool around and find out. I believe it's probably one of those original military acronyms. You look into many military acronyms, a lot of the letters stand for words that are profane in nature. But we'll just say fooling around and finding out. The verse says here, so anyone who rebels against authorities, rebelling against God, has instituted, and they will be punished. Do you think they're going to play games with the prosecution of people that are breaking the law? That's also something that President, yes, I'll say his name, Trump promised in his pre-election campaign. He also, he appointed an attorney general at first, a nominee that everybody hated. Well, that guy was a little bit nutso in a lot of things, a little bit way out there. So he then nominated somebody who has been an attorney general for the great state of Florida in Pam Bondi. And Pam Bondi is a God-fearing person. She had her pastor where she attends church at the White House in the Oval Office for the moment she was sworn in as the attorney general. Now, why am I talking about all these politics? Verse 3 in Romans 13 says, for the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. I see all kinds of posts on super media. I used to work for a company called Super Media. I wonder how they're doing right now. Anyway, social media. I see all these things on social media. People are like helping rat out. Like, I saw agents going over here, and I saw people going over there, and they're looking for y'all, and whatever, snitching, or you may say covering. And I've had people attack me as a Christian for saying that I wasn't being very Christian because I was warning them that whatever you put online, the feds have access to what people put online. If people are helping people escape the law that are lawbreakers, the feds, and they may be watching this, they have ways of finding out that people are aiding and abetting what amounts to criminal activity. Verse 3 in Romans 13 says, for the authorities do not strike fear in the people who are doing right. People who haven't broken any laws, they're not sweating it at all. They're just going to work, coming home, doing what they do. And it goes on to say, but those who are doing wrong, the authorities strike fear in the hearts of those that are doing wrong. That's what we're seeing. The Bible played out right in front of your eyes. And it goes on to say, would you like to live without fear of the authorities? Do what is right, and they will honor you. Verse 4 says, the authorities are God's servants sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. They are God's servants sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong. God has ordained this type of thing. I think God understands society. God understands humanity. God understands life. God understands civilization way better than any of us do, right? So, verse 5 in Romans 13 says, "So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience." And they're talking about, oh, they're gonna audit the IRS, and they're gonna audit this and that. Well, we're instructed by Paul in Romans chapter 13, verse 6, pay your taxes too. For these same reasons, for government workers need to be paid. That's how they get paid, the only way they get paid. Now, we also have seen in some of these raids of USAID that people have donated things to foreign relief causes, only to find out that they're not going to foreign relief causes. They're padding the pockets of people who have been in corrupted positions of power. Say that 5 times fast. They're serving God in what they do, though. It says, pay your taxes, for the government workers need to be paid. They're serving God in what they do. Give to everyone what you owe them. Pay your taxes and government fees to those who collect them, and give respect and honor to those who are in authority. I don't know about you, but Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 7 there is very, very clear. So let's talk politics. Put some comments down in the line. Real quickly, I want to tell you, you help every time you go through and you stream one of these videos, every time you share one of these videos, every time you go through and listen to one of these songs. That's multifaceted, the original version on the Shadowcaster LP, available anywhere you stream music online, or you can purchase it through iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music, places like that. You do help me. It helps the algorithms if you like, subscribe, follow, share, make comments, send it to somebody who needs to hear something. I believe God has given me the ability to write some lyrics. Some of them very clever, in my opinion, of course, but you should give them a listen and see what you think. There's also going to be a link down in the comments that will show you how you can make donations to the ministry. The ministry overall is called Life Above Status Quo, because life in God, life in Christ, is a supernatural life. It's above the status quo of this world. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that as time goes on. But you'll see there's going to be a link down there that says pay.lifeabovesq.org. That'll take you straight to a link where you can give donations. We are looking for show sponsors, but we're also just looking for some folks. Maybe monthly you can spare a $5 bill. Maybe monthly you can spare $10. Maybe you can spare $100. Maybe God has laid it on your heart to help somebody who does stuff like I do to get the message sent to the world. I will tell you this. We have been seen and listened to in more than 50 countries around the world. Now, a lot of times there are blockades and barriers on countries that have restrictions on things from the United States. So some of those places were not really there. But other places that can get streaming services such as YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Let me think the other ones that I'm on. Pandora. We're on Pandora. We're on a subscription service called Deezer. There's a lot of different streaming services that we're a part of. But YouTube Music, YouTube Video is some of the main things. Of course, Facebook, Instagram. We're also on TikTok. If you look up the music that I've released already, and then coming up on the 13th of February here next week, you'll find 11 more songs that I'm releasing. God has been blessing me with the ability to get some of that stuff done. Those things are embedded in places like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You can actually use them as music for the background of your own videos. Now, there's some worship songs. There's 2 worship songs on the first LP. There are 2 worship songs, or a version of the same worship song. Basically, that's what's on the first one. There's 2 versions of a worship song on the new one that's coming out on the 13th. One of them will blow you away. The whole album is called Unexpected. One of them, you're probably not expecting a certain style of music you probably would not expect me to put on there. It's on there. Of course, there may be more than one that you wouldn't expect me to do. You may not expect that I actually do hip hop, that I actually rap. And yes, you'll hear my real voice more Not as much of the AI assisted stuff. I've been urged by several, including my daughter. Shout out Faith. Hey, thanks for doing that. She wanted to hear my actual voice. I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. So there's some of those on there. They're not great. I'll go ahead and admit they're not great, but they might be something that can get the message of hope and peace and joy and the things that Christ gives us. Might be able to give that to somebody just by sharing it. So we do appreciate all of you for following, liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you get in there and look at all the other videos. There's more than 40. I think this is episode number 44. 44. I don't know if that's going to be my cover for this video, but I did not just throw up gang signs. I'm sorry if it looked like that. I'm just trying to figure out something to do. Hey, I love y'all. Make sure you look into what it is you stand for. Do you stand for the truth? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father except he comes through me. He also said that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. It's going to be something that frees up every aspect of your life. Sometimes we get caught up in the ways of this world and the thinking of the things that go on in this world. And I'm just here to tell you, Jesus is the way. And listen, Romans chapter 13, those first 7 verses, read them for yourself. Ponder those things in your heart. Maybe you don't agree with the administration that's in right now. You know what? When the last administration was in, instead of whining a lot about it, I actually did what Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 7 says to do, and I prayed for them. I did. I prayed daily and also prayed that God would have his will come about. Listen, love you. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you again soon. Hey, until then, maybe I'll find my better camera and we can really do this. All right? See y'all.